Welcome all our viewers to our next session of Pro Talk, which is about digital transformation and what are the steps for the digital transformation today. Last time in our session, we were in Dubai and we have digitally moved to London this time, and we're going to bring you information from London live with how procurement digital transformation is happening there. So with me, I have a special guest from Akada, who's the founder of the organization and also tells us how procurement leaders can solve their challenges in today's complex environment and manage their teams effectively with proper objectives digitally. So allow me in welcoming Mr. Rich Sains.
Good morning. Hi.
Hi, good morning, Rich. Would you like to give us a little bit background about yourself, telling us about your journey? And usually in procurement, a lot of people, come through different routes. So help us understand a little bit about how you landed in procurement. What are the different, experiences that you hold in that journey? So over to you, Rich, and we're looking forward to the discussion.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, looking forward to it too. Yeah, so I'm Rich Sains. I'm founder of Akada. I also host the Procurement Conversation podcast, and I'm writer of the DigitalProcurement.substack.com, which is a Substack around digital procurement. And I've been in procurement for 20 years now. So worked many organisations. Marks and Spencer. I was head of IT procurement there. Went to a number of organisations on a consultancy basis. So Whitbread, Diageo, ASOS, a number of organisations like that, and saw a number of similar challenges across the piece. So formed Akada a few years ago, and we help procurement teams to increase their impact through digital technology, and we've got a product activity hub which helps procurement teams manage their activity and pipeline, prioritise activity, manage their resources, and give stakeholders the ability to cut procurement out altogether if that's appropriate through self-service. So that's a bit about what we do.
Okay, great to know that. So today there is a lot of movement around digital transformation. A lot of processes were manual until a couple of years back, and with the recent happening in 2020, things have kind of excelled, and a lot of technologies are being utilized these days. So what is the significance, and can you help us a little bit around what are those steps that you take or anybody in procurement should take in building and arriving at the digital procurement transformation space?
Yeah, sure. And it's very topical at the moment. There's obviously a lot of we've seen it in many different business areas, and historically procurement's been slightly unloved when it comes to digital transformation. I think other functions, maybe functions that have more of a regulatory or competitive advantage, will have be prioritised for the investment. So we're lacking investment. I think where the investment's happened, it's been in some of the transactional areas. So maybe the P2P space, potentially e-sourcing in some of those areas. And what we found is actually there's quite a few teams that just don't even bother with it, especially if they're focusing more on relationships. They sort of, there's more of that focus. There's less of the digital focus. But for those that want to digitize, I think we've also got a number of challenges. So IT resources are limited and they're prioritized elsewhere. So as I say, we're seeing a lot of digital investment in sort of client-facing areas. There's also a number of sort of past failed implementations of procurement technology. That's maybe technology that's just sort of very much replicated a manual process in a digital fashion, and that hasn't landed particularly well because users would feel that actually it's easier just to do their own thing using email and other applications like Excel and Word and PowerPoint, and that means they haven't landed properly. And then another thing I've seen maybe more recently is where potentially in greenfield sites where there's a big case made to bring in procurement technology. You know, obviously there's some foundational requirements around things like the P2P, purchase to pay, and procurement have really sponsored and driven that, but then it's sort of tied them to that transactional process, whereas maybe some of the more mature teams are able to split that out and maybe move things like accounts payable into finance. You get into that situation where some of the leaders are having to talk around payment processing rather than the more strategic conversations that procurement could be having. And I guess one of the final challenges is really around the choice in the marketplace. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of startups. You know, we're in a very busy ecosystem, and that makes it difficult for procurement leaders to choose what's the right thing for them at a particular point. So there's definitely challenges, but there's also clear benefits. So there's been a McKinsey report a couple of years ago, and really the impact on leading digital procurement programs that they've seen is 40% increase in savings, 30 to 50% less time spent on transactional sourcing, and 50% reduction in value leakage, which is clearly to any organization massively valuable. But if we move away from hard savings, we've also got this situation where we've got more digital natives coming into the workplace, and obviously they can choose organizations. They like to move around quite a lot, but also they can move professions. And if they haven't got the right resources and the right systems for them within procurement, if they're using very clunky old-fashioned systems, then we're going to have real difficulty attracting and retaining the right talent, which we hear from procurement leaders a lot as being a challenge there. So really the benefits of digital is getting rid of that transactional work, moving on to focus on more strategic projects, and also elevating procurement's profile and strategic importance while we're doing that. That's I think the key benefits there.
Thank you, Rick. So I think one of the points that we take away from here is anybody who's using still papers across the globe, printing POs and printing their contracts to get it signed off, should go digitally. There is a phenomenal benefit that you can achieve from digitizing your systems, your processors, to have audit processes in place so you don't have to plug in different information. So before we move on, I would like to request our viewers, any questions that you have for Rich, please write in the comment section, and we will bring you on board to get it answered by our valued guest today. So moving on next, what is the significant challenge that you face today, Rich, in terms of moving to digital transformation? So it's more like technology. I want to upgrade my phone every 1 year. There is a phone upgrade. Should I every year upgrade my technology, or should it be a 4-year cycle? So what is the significant challenge, and how do I connect with the best technology that should be used in procurement for digital transformation?
Yeah, and I think previously, as I said, there's the previous generation of procurement technology, monolithic systems, so it's all in one piece, and it's very, very, very costly to implement, and it stays around for a very, very long time. And I think the benefits of the new approach is that we're able to plug and play more. So we've got these the microservices that we can knit together through integrations a lot better, which is great news. And because they're software as a service, they're on a subscription basis, so we can swap them in and out. Maybe not upgrading our solutions every year, but definitely every few years we should definitely be reviewing the marketplace, looking at that's actually one of the steps that I'll come on to, but looking at that looking at that and seeing if it's still fit for purpose or if there's something better out there for us.
Sounds good. One of the questions that we have from Zishan, from one of our viewers, who's highlighting, what is one of those major challenges you have faced in moving digital?
Yeah, so I think one of the challenges that we've seen often is that there's too much focus on digital, which it might sound a little bit counterintuitive, but the focus, digital is one aspect or one piece in the jigsaw puzzle, and the key areas really are to make sure that any digital technology is aligned with your people, your processes, and also has good data management in there as well. If you're forgetting any of those areas, then a digital system will not land properly. And often, there could be, obviously we sort of problem solvers, want to solve a problem. We see a problem in an area, think, well, this digital solution will solve it, and just buy the digital solution, and then wonder why it doesn't work within the landscape and it isn't adopted. And it's more of a process to understand. I should probably talk through the 7 steps, I think, because that was really that would sort of maybe help bring some of that to life. But if you're running through your 7 steps, then you're less likely to have those sort of issues, really.
Sounds good. So a quick point before we move on to the rapid fire questions is on, do you still have any space for the sustainability element while we are moving towards digital? Is there a technology that supports the sustainability component?
Definitely, yeah. I think sustainability is a key topic, and it's something that it's one of those things where we've seen the procurement approach to challenges can sometimes be to run a paper exercise and lots of questionnaires and spreadsheets and that type of thing. And I think what we're seeing now is that there's some great technologies in the space that can support users to get into I guess more of a valuable process, get that real data coming in, and then also things like that. We measure savings and benefits within our system, but looking at those sort of non-financial benefits is a key thing as well. So what is procurement actually delivering to that sustainability agenda in the activities that it's undertaking? That's definitely a key area.
Sounds good. So one of the points from a rapid fire question, in the interest of time that we move on, is the Excel which is being used, or PowerPoint. A lot of procurement experts who are excellent in negotiations, there is a lot of questioning around whether you are an expert Excel user or whether you are generic, because you require a lot of formulas like VLOOKUP, the HLOOKUPs, which help you in connecting a lot of data from multiple sources. So how is it accepted in the UK for Excel related requirements, or are people talking about ChatGPT to solve the Excel kind of requirements?
Where to start? I think it's Excel. It's ubiquitous, isn't it? And it's something that we all use from a very, very early age, and we have various degrees of sort of skill and competence within using it. I think I always find it useful to crack open an Excel spreadsheet, and if I've got some thoughts there and I want to crunch the numbers, it is a useful tool. I think we rely on it far too heavily within procurement, and it's almost in areas where we haven't been able to get investment in procurement technology, it becomes a sort of de facto procurement technology solution. I think I posted a few months ago about how it's probably the number one procurement technology of the century or something. So it's but it's definitely overused. And I think as you say, there's new technologies coming along. You won't, in 5 years' time, you won't need to do that sort of thing, because your AI bot will just will put it together for you. And that's a much better place to be, I think, because, as I say, if you've got different levels of competency, so sometimes I see people running things. I know that you could do that. You could automate certain things if you know the right formulas, but obviously, not everyone knows them. So.
Absolutely. So I've seen people in the teams, my colleagues, somebody who's very good in Excel, somebody who's good in PowerPoint, somebody who's good in system. You cannot have a combination of one person being an excellent on all spaces. So I think AI will definitely help in supporting the procurement professionals. Now, the next point which I have is there is too much of information online. So where do procurement professionals go in being updated with the latest trend and best practices? What is that, share that they should look at to kind of get the best updated information instead of exploring multiple spaces in Google, and now even ChatGPT gives you a lot of information?
Yeah. So I guess as a someone who posts a lot on LinkedIn, there are a lot of influencers out there. There's a lot of people with knowledge about those topics. So I think it's keeping an eye out, looking for those trusted sources, following them, clicking the bell so you get notified when they're posting. But yeah, there's some people I follow in the States. There's some people in Europe and Middle East as well. And I think it's it's useful to get those different perspectives. There's some great podcasts out there. Always recommend like James Mead's, all the stuff that he does is fantastic. And Substacks, there's some good, as I say, of digitalprocurement.substack.com, which is sort of a newsletter, pulls together some of those resources and posts. And then look out for LinkedIn. Some of the providers as well, they'll have decent blog posts. But I think it's about keeping the finger on the pulse, because there's a lot of change. There will continue to be a lot of change. There'll be a lot of there's always lots of mergers and acquisitions and new technologies coming out. As you say, things like ChatGPT that will have a big impact on procurement technology over the next sort of 3 to 5 years, definitely.
Interesting. The last point, in the interest of time, I help us a little bit on how is the maturity of procurement in London in different organizations. How advanced are those? What are those key tips that you would like to share as a closing note with our viewers?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I see the UK, I guess, in a way, I don't know if I'm a little bit biased, but sort of leading the way in terms of the strategic importance of procurement. And some teams have really taken that step into becoming valued business partners. I think it's definitely, obviously there's certain teams that may be more transactional, maybe less strategic, but in the main, I think there's a big group of procurement leaders who are really driving procurement forward in the UK, which is great. And I think the tips is really focus on digital investment. I think the ability of it to leverage your growth it's probably unrealized to an extent, and with these new technologies that will really help drive it forward. So if you can deliver say one with your current team, then you should be able to deliver 2 or 3 with those digital enablers and accelerators. So definitely advise getting the investment, building your visibility within the organization, and continually investing and improving in your digital capability.
Thank you very much. That's very informative. Thank you, Rich, for joining us today in this session and sharing that wisdom. Thank you to all the viewers who are following us on the ProTalk conversation and bringing the best procurement practices, latest trends, what's happening around globally. Thank you very much for joining on. We'll soon be bringing a lot of updates in future on contracts, on strategic sourcing, category management, benchmarking exercise. Stay tuned and looking forward to connect in future. Thank you all for joining in. Thank you, Rich.
Thank you.